Hey everybody, I'm Jackie with Jackie's Wreath and Things. Today I'm going to show you something kind of fun. Coming into pool noodle season, and I kind of figured out a way to have a little bit of fun with pool noodles and unique creek boards at the same time. So I've already started the project. Look at that, isn't that fun? So that's what we're going to be working on. I'm going to show you how to make the spirals using the unique in the creek board. So let's go over the supplies that you will need for this project. How about it? You will need 2 pool noodles. For what I did, you'll need 2 rolls of 10-inch mesh, and you will need to cut them 10 inches. You'll need some type of center. This is the center I have picked. I took your chunky yarn and I put it on discs, styrofoam discs that you can get from the Dollar Tree. You'll need a knife, box cutter, heat gun. You can pick a heat gun up at Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, different places. And then to make your center, you might need a glue gun. And then what I have here to warm my pieces up is a cutting board to prevent melting the stuff around me. And then I have some clips to hold my pool noodles as I stretch them. I got these clips at Walmart, and I got my large cutting board at Walmart. This one's pretty large. It's 20 by 15. So it's a pretty large cutting board. I've done all kinds of things with pool noodles, and here recently I had this idea to do a wreath with pool noodles. You'll also need zip ties, and you will need a unique in the creek board. So let's get started. We're going to start out by showing how to do the pool noodles. Now I have prepared most of them. I'm going to show you how to do 3. I have this knife that I keep around my shop just for cutting styrofoam. It cuts through really, really easy. It's made by Faberware, classic knife armor. It's called a utility knife. And that's what I keep. It's got a serrated edge on it, which is perfect for cutting foam. I'm going to cut my foam pieces 3 inches. Now when you cut your foam, know that it is going to almost triple in length. So however long you want your foam pieces, you cut them accordingly. So I'm going to measure this up, and then I'm going to come to my 3-inch mark and just cut straight down. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a box cutter to put the spiral cuts. Now, I prefer to use this type of box cutter to do that. The reason is because you don't fight with the blade. It's locked in, and it's easier, especially when you're crafting. This edge right here on the box blade actually stops the blade from going through. Now, this won't be as fun if you don't change this blade first. You need to have a brand new blade because sometimes when you cut tape and everything, this ends up being sticky, which makes it so you have to saw through your pool noodle. So change your blade out before you get started. So you basically want to cut in a little bit at an angle. And then as you turn the pool noodle, believe it or not, it'll just kind of like naturally spiral and spin with very little guidance. Notice how I'm sliding right through and I'm not having to saw. So that's the importance of putting in a new blade. So you cut in at the edge. And I'm trying to make mine like a 1/2 inch apart as I spiral around. Like so. See, easy. Now I'm going to bring my cutting board and make sure when you clip these on, because we want these to go flat as possible when we put them in our wreath. So clip them on, and yeah, they're going to be sticking up at first. And that's okay. Now, if you can get a smaller cutting board, it actually makes it a little bit easier for this project because then you can clip and cool. So here we're going to get our heat gun out and we're going to use it on a low temperature. I don't know for sure if a blow dryer will work or put out enough heat to do this as quickly as possible. So I definitely recommend just get a heat gun, because believe it or not, in crafting, a heat gun can come in very handy. If you need to undo something with hot glue or things like that, it just really ends up being a staple to a crafter. And plus, with a heat gun, the more you do this and get used to it, you can go from setting it on low to high once you get used to it. So we're going to turn the heat gun on, and I'm going to do it on low. And you're just warming this up because you're reforming this. The pool noodle was formed with heat, and now you are just using heat to reform it into a spiral. Now you're going to need that to cool down before you let it go, because if you don't, it just springs right back. So I'm actually going to grab 2. I'm going to be really careful to not hit the other one with heat. So as you can see, if you had a shorter cutting block, you could actually clip this down and do more at one time. But I have other projects that I use longer pool noodles for. So just going to kind of like let it go. Make sure it's not going to spring back too much. And then take them off. Now I'm going to crank it up on high. You can see how much faster it'll go once you get used to it. My glue gun is not close to the foam. You don't want your glue gun close to the foam because you could over melt and overshape, so you don't want to do that. And then just hold it there. Now I have another cutting block over here. Do not set your glue gun straight on anything because the tip is hot. I have another cutting block off here to my right that I set it on to cool down. And then unclip. So now that we have everything prepared, we're ready to just finish off the wreath and put our mesh on. I think this will be super fun, and it's very inexpensive, and it creates a new look for flowers and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my mesh, and I'm going to go corner to corner. And I just go 2 pieces at a time. Corner to corner. Fold it in half. And then I grab I grab my pieces wrong. We got to switch this around. And then I'm going to grab my pool noodle and I'm going to set it on top. And I'm going to take this curl because I want it flat. I want to make sure this is going to lay flat as possible. And then we're going to take all of that and set it in our zip tie. And zip it on down. So blue corner to corner. I cut my mesh pieces 10 inches. Fold it down. Pool noodle goes on top. The pool noodles are very spongy. Unlike your crafting foam, your foam blocks and things like that, the pool noodle doesn't tear. The zip tie doesn't tear through the pool noodle. So I'm always careful making sure that I grab it so the pool noodle is going to lay flat when I put it in. There's a lot of pool noodles that'll be available soon. I got my pool noodles at Dollar Tree. And the biggest thing I'm focusing on is just trying to keep the length on the outside of my pool noodles about the same. Now, could you apply this and do this with regular wreath forms? Absolutely. Oh, my zip tie came loose on that one. So we'll fix that real quick. Sometimes that happens. slide that back in. You could actually take, it would be super fun if you were having a pool party. You can make one of these out of all pool noodles and set it in the middle of a pool, and it would be super fun to float on, to have a neat floaty around the pool. So now we're going on to the next row. Still putting the pool noodle on top. And I am cinching these down pretty tight, and I'm not worried about it ripping through the pool noodle. I used some of the smaller zip ties, and they don't seem to be doing a well job as bigger zip ties. To start. So my last in a row, I'm just going to finish it off with mesh. Now you don't have to put a center in this, I just chose to. And you may not even feel like, once you put your center in, that you need to go this far. But the red stuck out so much, I just wanted to go a little bit further. With the white and blue. plus the center I chose. With the red and white, which just happened to be something that I had left over from Christmas time. So I was using what I had here at the shop for the center. The zip ties that I'm using are 8-inch. They're longer and wider, and they seem to be working better for this project. Separate those out a bit. And then let's put our center on. And what I'm going to do to put the center on, I've got an ice pick that I typically use. I'm going to poke a couple holes. And the reason I'm using it like this is because I don't want this to wobble. And tilt. I want to make this pretty secure in the center. We're going to start out with 2 pipe cleaners and hope it doesn't go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because we don't want that. You could also take a ball and cover it and put it in the center. Any color that you want. Like I said, I just happen to have this sitting around my shop, and I kind of like the spiral. Why not? Waiting for the glue to cool down a little bit. Now I've got quite a bit of pipe cleaner left. So to twist it, I'm going to cut it just long enough. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck it right back up into that center hole. As you can see, I put zip ties in every hole in the board and utilize the whole board. I think this is a super fun project, y'all, especially as you can see for 4th of July wreaths, because it looks like a firework happening. I hope y'all really enjoyed this tutorial, and I can't wait to see what you do with it in the future. The different things that you might come up with and things like that with the Unique and the Creek board. Hopefully using the pool noodles because they're inexpensive, and this adds a large pow to your wreaths. Thank y'all for joining me. Bye, y'all.